6:02, the meeting is now in order. We all please rise for pledge of allegiance. Mr. Dunn.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Establishment of quorum.
Victor Perez is absent. Rene Rodriguez is absent. Joseph Foley.
Here.
Mayor Jesus Ruiz.
Here.
Sergio Cox.
Yes, ma'am.
And Gloria Rodriguez. Here. Mayor, we do have a quorum.
To public comments.
Ralph Duran. We don't have any speakers.
No speakers?
No speakers.
Alright. Moving on to the presentation. Presentation by Rural and Small Communities Economic Development on the adaptation of policy 380 for the city of Socorro related to incentives for new businesses. See you again.
Good to see you, Council. Thank you for having us here. Okay. So, good evening. Thank you all for having us. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so in recent months, the economic development specialists in the city of Socorro have been considering the adoption of the 380 business incentives policy for the city of Socorro with the ultimate intention of providing your city with jobs and taxable growth. Obviously, your own input as mayors and city council is vital and key to this process. So I'm here tonight to kind of give a brief explanation of what 380 policies are to try to start the process, and so it's for your consideration as well. So what are 380 policies? Chapter 3 of the Local Government Code authorizes municipalities like Socorro to offer incentives designed to promote economic development such as commercial and retail projects. More specifically, it provides for offering loans and grants of city funds for services of little or no cost to promote state and local economic development and to stimulate business and commercial activity. So the overall purpose of this policy is to define financial incentives and to establish standards for their implementation. And so in order to provide a targeted grant for a loan, the city must first adopt and implement incentives, and this is what 380 policies typically are. So the ultimate purpose is to provide incentives to select private businesses that make or will make measurable differences in achieving economic growth and development, and expanding and diversifying the tax base and creating new quality jobs within the city of Socorro. And actually, the importance of adopting a functional 380 policy is in fact identified in your own recently approved Socorro Comprehensive Plan in section 11B1. And so this will be the first procedural step in implementing your own plan. So as you all know, the future population of Socorro is expected to grow to 45,000 or so by 2030 and to 60,000 by 2060, nearly double the existing population of roughly 32,000 people. The recently drafted 2013 Socorro City Comprehensive Plan asks a very valid question. Where will all these people live, shop, work, and find entertainment? And how will this growth affect transportation, water resources, housing, and agricultural land use in the city? So fortunately, your own city plan also lays out a very intelligent path to handling the expected coming growth. Of course, planning is one thing, and implementation is another. And so the implementation can be aided by the 380 policies in the sense that this challenge requires supplementary planning tools. So 380 policies then become additional tools which cities like yourself can utilize to not only attract additional businesses, but also cater that attraction and growth in manners that support your comprehensive plan. You can choose where you want to incentivize, you can choose what types of business you want to incentivize, and you can choose the types of savings that you like to promote in your city. So another example here is a map of Socorro's future land use plan. Growth areas 4, 5, and 6 now. That's the bottom right side. For the Texas area, 5 and 6 are Texas missing, but you can still keep an idea of the area. They're all immediately adjacent to I-10 have already been designated for specific future uses, some being commercial, and others being high-density residential. So these locations would be specified in the incentive policies geographic district, which would ultimately be serviced by exactly these types of companies, that is, high-density residential developers and commercial developers. Through the implementation of this 380 policy, the city of Socorro can prepare to accomplish the following strategic objectives. Jobs creation. City of Socorro can gain advantage in pursuing a stable year-round economy with an emphasis on targeting quality jobs. A quality job is defined as a job that pays a wage or salary equal to or greater than the current El Paso County median wages, about $12.25 an hour, and provides health insurance benefits to employees and for which the employer pays at least 50%. Now keep in mind that this is just an example. It doesn't mean that this is the only thing y'all can do with your policies, but you can start defining what kind of jobs you would like to have. You can start figuring out exactly how much pay you'd be expecting for these jobs. Business retention and expansion.
Sir, can I ask you to tap on your mic? See if it works. Okay, maybe it's
It's
hard to hear you sometimes, sir.
Can
It's hard to hear you sometimes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to speak up. Business retention and expansion.
Okay.
The city of Socorro can better support the retention and the expansion of existing businesses within the city. Now, keep in mind the retention and expansion of businesses typically accounts for roughly 80% of all estimated job growth in cities typically. So there's your retention and expansion. Attraction of primary and secondary targets. The city of Socorro can support the attraction of primary and secondary targets as identified in the 2014 Socorro, Texas Comprehensive Plan. For example, the city of Socorro will gain advantage in attracting and retaining large private commercial developers, recreational and tourism ventures that invite a regional and national client base, and also the attraction and retention of companies that have strong regional, national markets for their products or services. So what does that mean? That means you're trying to attract companies that are going to bring it outside of there's different ways to generate this kind of economic growth, and what we want to do is also make sure that we cater to these companies that say they want to come in from the outside and bring new jobs. And revitalization of designated redevelopment areas. So your policy would establish geographic areas, as we mentioned before, where growth and development would be favored. This favor would come in the form of incentives provided to developers who express an interest in developing within the established designated redevelopment areas. So again, the city's economic development efforts should be consistent with the city's growth and development policy and general plan for the Socorro area. So the next natural question is, what types of incentives are we talking about? There are a host of incentives that are typically provided to developers by jurisdictions. Four of the ones most successfully offered by the city of El Paso, for example, are sales tax rebates, incremental property tax rebates, expedited permitting processes, and waivers on permitting costs. And of course, your own specified incentive policy will ultimately be developed by your own city staff. So again, these are all examples of what you could use. So first off, the city of Socorro is under no obligation to approve any requested incentives, by the way. So you can imagine that if you have your own policy, you would first be the ones to decide on each individual. There is no obligation to approve or give out any incentives. And no right to these incentives is either intended nor implied. So new businesses or expansion of existing businesses can be considered for financial incentives. And in order to be eligible for incentives, businesses or individuals must be current on all city taxes or any other obligations to the city. They must also make available all credible information, including but not limited to capital investment and employment projections. And this would be to enable the city of Socorro to prepare a fiscal impact analysis. Now, fiscal impact analyses help jurisdictions decide ahead of time on the expected costs and benefits of individual policies. And of course, we, that is the county RCM, Chris and myself, are here to help you all develop these reports. And again, the decision to provide any incentives or economic development benefits will be considered on a project-by-project basis in accordance with the criteria set forth in your own 380 policy and the discretion of the City Council and the City of Socorro. And so just to review, the ultimate Socorro 380 policy will be designed with respect to criteria established, detailed, and chosen by the City of Socorro. So some aspects to consider, as I mentioned before: job and wage benefits, targeted location, business types. And so, for example, we have housing developers. Socorro can anticipate needing an additional 7,000 to 8,000 dwellings by 2060. At the end, this is housing plan, by the way. At the existing average size of 0.31 acres per home, continued low-density residential development will consume 2,500 acres of land that are now vacant or being used for agriculture. So that's more than 1/3 of Socorro's existing open space. This low-density development will add even more traffic to your roadways, as residents force to drive long distances for any goods and services. So then the more advantageous development scenario proposed again by your own plan is to encourage more compact development, offering a range of housing choices that include apartments and townhomes as well as single-family residents. So then incentives can be extended to developers looking to create exactly these types of housing communities. So now that you've decided with your own plan, we need to figure out how to increase density. Well, now 380 policies allow you to find the people who are interested in developing that way and actually give them incentives and attract them to your city. And these capital-intensive projects, and these are projects where the developers will only bring in large sums of capital to develop properties and industries. And so there will be certain incentives built in to the policy to encourage these larger ventures. And of course, these criteria will be developed in conjunction with design aspects of your own existing comprehensive plan, as I mentioned before. So for example, the targeted locations, as you see here, will reflect the future land use map and the 7 land use goals detailed in your own comp plan. So what are the risks and protection? It's important to understand the development and approval of a 380 policy for subwater will not cost your city any money. This merely gives you a low risk and effective additional tool for economic development. And so you all have been doing a very good job already attracting businesses, and this is really just another tool in your tool belt to attract people when you're competing with not only people within the region, but towns all across Texas and really internationally. Once the policy is adopted, each individual developer will have to apply for incentives. For these to be granted, they will have to comply with all aforementioned established criteria. It will then be the choice of the review committee, typically the planning department or economic development, to either accept or reject the developer's application. And then finally, any 380 policy must first go before you all, the city council and the mayor, and must be approved by you all before any commitment is made. So you will have, this is on a case-by-case basis, so you'll have the final say as to whether or not to extend incentives to different developers who are applying for them. So then to repeat, the city of Socorro is under no obligation to approve any requested incentives, and no right to these incentives neither intended nor required. So this merely gives you a low risk and effective additional tool to help your economic development achieve its economic development goals. And so yes, the question is, why now? The fact is that more and more companies are looking to our region to either expand or commence operations. So in this highly competitive game, Socorro must be armed with useful tools. El Paso has a policy, El Paso City has a policy just like this one already in place, and the El Paso County as a whole also has a policy for the counties are called 381, but it's the same exact thing. And both have been very successful, so we're interested in bringing that to you all here so that you can help expand your city. So as it stands, both these entities presently hold a large advantage over cities like your own right now, which don't have these kind of policies with respect to the incentive tools. And it can always be said that businesses would come anyway, but you have to think, are these the types of businesses that will bring new wealth to the community, or are they merely feeding off what already exists? And so again, you all have been doing a good job, and this is just an additional tool to help you all develop your economic development. So by adopting this 380 policy in conjunction with establishing connections with a regional leading corporation like Borderplex, Socorro can begin to position itself as one of the regional leaders with the power to direct its own growth in accordance with its very valuable and thought-out comprehensive plan. So in a sense, Socorro can now decide to make steps forward with the same incentives. So in the coming few weeks, it's hoped that your planning staff, along with our AP county staff, can begin to tailor a 380 policy catered specifically to the growth visions captured in your Socorro comp plan. So there's no rule in your policy decision that you all are being asked to make today, other than to internally begin to consider the value of this policy. So really, I just wanted to do this, just give you a brief introduction of what 380 policies are. So you already adopted a good plan, your comprehensive plan, read through it. Well, not adopted, but you're writing your plan. I shouldn't say that, but your plan is already there as a guideline, basically. And this essentially gives you a tool to help make that plan reality again. Your plan is one thing, your implementation is, I'm sorry if I said you already adopted. I meant your plan is in existence, and this is a way to help begin to put that plan in place. So really, that's essentially it. 380 policies are policies adopted by communities just like yours, which would allow you all to actually get into contracts with private developers and to decide what types of incentives you would give to different companies legally, of course. And you would be able to then decide, these are the kind of companies we would like to favor and cater. These are the kind of developments, these are the salaries, and these are the areas that we'd like to look in. And And so again, you're not being asked to make any decision today, just to start thinking about the 380 one policy and how to put it in. So if there's any questions?
Any more questions?
Yes.
And I'm just throwing it out there. One of the incentives that we used to do in the past was jobs guaranteed for our citizens of the city of Socorro.
Yes.
And the question is, but then no one ever followed up to find out how many people they kept hired. Let's say the first time they hired 30 or 40 people from Socorro, and then after those people went on, we never knew they hired any more to replace those. So, what kind of a check and balance system do you have on that? With incentives?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, that's where we talk about the fiscal impact analysis. And so the way, so for example, Paso City does it now, we do have an analysis that would track all the job creations, and they would have to report these jobs to you before you would pass out any incentives. So you can imagine that if you signed a contract with them this year, they would come back once a year and say, okay, here's our data, how many jobs you created, here's how much we're paying them, here's where we're located, and then you put that through your analysis in your own department. You can actually analyze that and say, okay, this does check out, so we're following through the incentives this year. If they weren't compliant, you wouldn't have to put the incentives out to them. And so every year, it's their responsibility to come through with the documents and to prove to you that they've created these jobs specifically, again, depending on whatever your criteria are. So if you're asking for specific wages, for them to be located in certain areas or to be sourced from Socorro, all this would have to be proven to you before you would have the incentives. So definitely an impact analysis procedure goes right in line with this policy, and Chris and I are definitely willing to help you all out with that. And eventually, I'm sure you'll have to handle that yourselves. That's a very good question.
Your question, if I can interject, your question is very apropos, because you don't want companies to get these benefits and get off scot-free and then renege on what they promised to do. You have to have in place a long-term monitoring system, certainly during the life of the agreement, which may be 5, 10, 15 years. It depends on the agreement. They may have different terms. During that whole term, you have to have a vigorous monitoring system and periodic reporting from the employer, which they would have to document with things like payroll lists and so forth, to actually document their claims that they're maintaining this level of staff or a number of employees, and hopefully number 2, growing and creating new jobs along the way. But they would have to document what they're accomplishing in that regard.
Right. And of course, we would pass on whatever process we use in the city, we'll pass it on to you all to make sure.
Yeah, what comes to my mind is a few years back, we had we had a warehouse out there that asked the city council back then for a 10-year tax abatement, 10-year. On the 9th year, they went to Mexico on a twin plant system type deal, and Socorro was left without anything. How do you prevent that kind of stuff from happening? What do you do to maybe set something in place?
Right, and then again, you could actually include that as a criteria where they would have to say a certain amount of time. Again, it would be difficult to force a company, they operate on whatever their numbers tell them.
Once you give me abatement.
Yeah, well, and so what you want to do is make sure that you recover at least, ideally they would say the whole time, but even within that time, part of your impact analysis will make sure that if you're suspecting that you're making a mistake for 10 or 15 years, that you would recover all your incentives by the time, hopefully it won't hit by the time you're left. So these are exactly the type of things that we consider when developing a policy, and each specific contractor makes sure of that. So if we suspect that we're giving out a certain amount of incentives, we want to make sure that we're getting that much more back in wages or even other LPs created. These are all exactly the type of things that we consider as really policies.
And that is the risk that's involved. That is the risk that's involved, because you can only hold their feet to the fire during the term of the agreement. And if they want to move to Mexico or somewhere else, or to New Mexico or wherever, in the 11th year after the completion of a 10-year contract, there's not much you can do about it. The thing is, the good strategy is to have numerous agreements of this type with different companies, some finite percentage probably is going to stick it to you a year after the agreement ends. Hopefully it'll be a very small percentage. But then you've got other agreements which are creating jobs, and on the whole, the net benefit would still be a plus for the community. Even if you have a 1 or 2 or maybe 3 or 4 who stick it to you, if you've got 20 such agreements creating scads of employment in different locations in the county, you know, you're covered. But that is undeniably the risk that's involved.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Thank
Can
you.
we go on for other years? Yeah, I'm sorry, I was saying adopting amendments. Yeah, it's not that.
Don't worry about it.
Mayor, for the record, Rene Rodriguez arrived to the meeting at 6:09 and Victor Perez at 6:11.
Both better late.
Oh, thank you.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, except for the minutes of February 13, 2014, so that you could see item 26.
You want to pull it out?
Wait, yeah, I mean, what is the, so you don't have to approve the minutes, or? what is
No,
that?
I would just table the minutes for February 13th, till the next meeting.
And what's the rationale behind that?
Huh?
What's the rationale behind that?
Oh, because on item 26,
Not
I
sure.
just wanted to see if there was something else on there, because it just says,
Oh, that's right, I see what she's talking about. On 26, it does state that the motion was made to approve and it was denied, but then it doesn't say that it was tabled afterwards, which
it
it
doesn't
was.
say anything else.
It wasn't tabled, it just died
Okay,
that time.
you know what,
So,
she's right.
We'll go back and
Nothing-
we'll correct it.
Okay,
That's all I need.
yeah, that's fine. So can you go ahead and, Jim, what, approve items 6, 8, 9, 10, and table item number 7 for the next meeting?
Yes, sir, table it as a whole.
Okay, then my motion would be to approve item 6, 7 with all, just February 13th minutes, to table those for the next meeting, would that be it? And then approve item 8, 9, and 10.
All right, do we have a second?
Well, I'm sorry, if I can, and I don't know if, for the minutes, I guess it's the special council meeting for item number 29. Also, if these are the names correctly, number 29, I didn't make a motion. It was Mr. Rodriguez, so it would be him that, he would be the one rescinding his motion.
Yeah, it does say Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Victor Perez,
So,
and then Victor Perez rescinded his motion.
So,
I mean, can we just amend the minutes, Jim? I know we do that at the MPO, okay?
We can, let us go back and review the minutes.
Okay.
Both sets, so you can just table item number 7, that'd be great.
The answer is yes, you can. If you want to, you can also just give your staff more time to look at it. But yeah, if you choose to just amend the minutes here on the fly, yes, you can.
Oh, can we go ahead and just amend them?
that's fine.
Just go ahead, can we go ahead and make a motion then to just amend item 26 on the minutes to display that the item died and no further action was taken?
Well, I would like to review the minutes, go back and review the minutes.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and just table item 7.
okay, then my,
Such as approved consent agenda with the exception of item 7, which will be tabled for the next city council
okay,
meeting.
I would like to make a motion to approve consent agenda, except for number 7, to be tabled for the next meeting.
Second.
All right, and motion is second.
Motion made by Gloria Rodriguez, seconded by Rene Rodriguez, to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item number 7 to be tabled for the next council meeting. Victor Perez?
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Joseph Pauling?
Aye.
Sergio Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Gloria Rodriguez?
Good job, Mrs. Rodriguez. Moving on to the regular agenda, the ordinances. Number 11, public hearing of ordinance 328, an ordinance changing the zoning of tract 1B, block 28, Socorro Grant, from A1 agricultural to R2 medium density residential. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval. Okay, it is 6:27. Public hearing is now open. It is 6:27. 6:27. Public hearing is now closed. Moving on to item number 12, second reading and adoption of ordinance 328, an ordinance changing the zoning of tract 1B, block 28, Socorro Grant from A1 agricultural to R2 medium density residential. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval. Do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion is second. Any discussion on this? All right.
Motion made by Rene Rodriguez, seconded by Gloria Rodriguez to approve item number 12. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 13, public hearing of ordinance 329, an ordinance changing the zoning of lot 46, block 9, Freeman Estates, 11463 Socorro Road from R1 single family residential to C1 light commercial. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval. It is 6:28. Public hearing is now open.
Mr. Mayor, you may want to call this.
No?
You may want to ask.
Anybody want to speak on this item? All right, it is 6:28. Public hearing is now closed. Item 14, second reading and adoption of ordinance 329, an ordinance changing the zoning of lot 46, block 9, Freeman Estates, 11463 Socorro Road from R1 single family residential to C1 light commercial. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval. Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Mrs. Rodriguez?
No.
Anybody else on this side? All right, motion and a second.
Motion made by Gloria Rodriguez, seconded by Joseph Pauling to approve item number 14. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Thank you. Okay, now on the next two items, we do have a recommendation that we table these until the April 3rd meeting, simply because they are tied in with the audit that's going on right now. And we do want to go ahead and let them finish, the work is not finished, right, Ms. Dixon?
Yes.
Make the motion to table.
Aye.
Second.
Yeah.
Motion 15.
15, 16.
15 and 16, excuse me.
Will the April 3rd meeting suffice? Will the April 3rd meeting be okay for that time? Will they be done with the audit?
Yeah, the goal is to present both audits on the 20th of March.
Okay.
Second.
All right, any discussion on this?
Motion made by Rene Rodriguez, seconded by Gloria Rodriguez to table items 15 and 16 for the April 3rd meeting. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Okay, moving on to item number 17, introduction, first reading, calling for a public hearing of ordinance 320, amendment number 3, an ordinance of the city of Socorro, establishing procedures and rules for city council meetings and agendas as provided by section 3.08 of the Socorro City Charter, and establishing procedures and rules for conduct of the Socorro City Council and all of the city of Socorro boards and commissions, and repealing ordinance 304, amendment number 1, and ordinance 280, amendment number 1. Do you have a motion? Motion to approve. Do you have a second?
I'm going to say second.
Right, motion and second. Any discussion, Mr. Cox?
No, but I believe it's addressed the issues that were brought up. I see that the handout has crossed out the stuff that was an issue.
Okay, anybody else?
So this is what we had spoken of last
Yes.
meeting.
And then, this is another thing, just change the way that the agenda will be, that way it's more uniform throughout. All right, so we have motion and second.
Motion made by Sergio Cox, seconded by Victor Perez to approve item number 17. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Yes.
Okay, item number 18, introduction, first reading, and calling for a public hearing of ordinance 257, amendment number 1, an ordinance establishing and adopting public and workplace smoking restrictions in the city of Socorro, Texas. Do you have a motion on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Second.
I have one amendment to the ordinance before council does the first reading. It's to section 1.2K. The amendment should be to solely and insert in its place the word primarily. And with that, I would counsel you after that is your wish.
All right, so I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve item number 17 with the noted changes on section 1. Or rather, in section 1.2K, from the word solely to primarily.
Second.
All right, motion is second, any discussion, Mr. Pettis?
No, sir.
Anybody else want to say?
Motion made by Victor Perez, seconded by Gloria Rodriguez, to approve item number 18 with a correction of section 1.2K to omit solely to primary. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Okay, item number 19, discussion and action on approving increasing the limit placed on the Weaver and Tidwell forensic audit amount from 90,000 to 127,000. Ms. Davis, if you have anything?
Not necessarily unless you all have any questions.
Anybody have any questions on this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, a motion and a double second over here.
Motion made by Gloria Rodriguez, seconded by Rene Rodriguez, to approve item number 19. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph
Aye.
Pauling, Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Who second?
Rene.
Okay.
Gloria, you vote?
We have one.
Oh, yes.
Item number 20, discussion and action on the recommendation made by Civil Service Commission on approval to amend policy 301 vacation benefits. Mrs. Rockton.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pretty much we're going through our handbook and just reviewing some of the policies that need a little bit of changing. We just changed it, but we've discovered that we need more changes, so we're working on the employee handbook. And that will be ready by April. But for right now, I did want to make a change to the vacation policy. We were allowing employees to borrow vacation once they've exhausted their vacation. The policy just states that that will no longer be accepted. Once you exhausted your vacation hours, you're not able, and then if you're absent, that absence will be counted as an excuse. You won't be able to borrow for future. And that's pretty much all that was added to that policy.
And subsequently deducted from the pay.
I'm sorry?
And subsequently deducted from the pay, they missed a day, it's an excuse.
Correct, well, if they didn't work, they wouldn't get paid for it.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, that's the motion and second, any discussion, Mr. Rodriguez?
No.
Nobody else?
Motion made by Rene Rodriguez, seconded by Gloria Rodriguez, to approve item number 20. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Okay, item 21, discussion and action on the recommendation made by Civil Service Commission on approval to amend policy 302, holidays.
On the holiday policy, basically, we were paying a certain way, but it didn't specify in the handbook the way we were paying. So I went ahead and just added, if an employee is scheduled to work on a holiday, he or she will receive wages at 1.5 times their straight time for the hours they work on the holiday, plus 8 hours of holiday. Only a skeleton crew will be scheduled on holidays. So this will only impact your police department. All other city employees are off unless, you know, special circumstances. But at that point, it would have to be approved through the city manager.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Rene Rodriguez,
Mr. Pettis, second.
seconded by Victor Perez.
Any discussion, Mr. Rodriguez? No. Mr. Pettis? Anybody else want to say?
Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 22, discussion and action on certificate of appropriateness for a temporary mobile food structure at 605 Vargas Road and 11749 Socorro Road. The Historical Landmark Commission recommends approval with conditions. Mr. Lilly, do you have any comments? Do you have the conditions?
Mayor, Council. This certificate of appropriateness is to provide authorization to a mobile home structure, a mobile office to be acting as a fast food. This will be located at 650 Fray Vargas. The applicant is requesting to place the mobile restaurant in his property, which is here. But because of the fact this is considered as a R1 single family residential, they cannot initiate the business until a rezoning process is conducted to convert the property from R1 to C1. The C1 classification is the only classification that allows them to have a limited mixture of residential and commercial. But because of the fact they want to initiate the business, they get the permission from the shopping center in front of the property, a temporary permit for them to place the mobile structure there, while they conduct the rezoning. So this is the authorization from them. So the conditions that the historical commission is requesting are the following. If the owner wants to use her residential property to ultimately place the mobile unit, she needs to rezone her property from R1 to C1. Number two, any modifications to the property to accommodate the mobile unit shall be presented for approval before HLC and obviously City Council. And number three, the mobile unit shall be painted with approved historical colors. Those are the conditions for them to start doing business in this already commercial property, while they are working on the accommodation on the zoning of the residential area. So they presented a letter from the owner of the commercial property allowing him to be there.
And now, Sam, on this one really quick,
Yes.
if it's contingent, I mean, do we go ahead and let them rezone it first and then bring it back to council? Or we go ahead and approve it now with that? Before, I mean,
No, but he's asking.
Well, the placement of the unit will be in an already commercial area. So they might be saying, if they come into an agreement, paying the rent or lease to the owner, probably they might not need to rezone this.
so that was satisfied the first.
Exactly, but they have to have the authorization to proceed in that area.
Isn't
Yes,
there a
sir.
restaurant already in that area?
Not in this corner, probably here, but not here.
There's a restaurant right there in the shopping center.
Not here,
Yes.
yeah, within the building.
Okay, now, is this a letter that the owner gave permission to go ahead and put it in progress? I mean, could we get a little bit more, something more better than that, just basically handwritten? Didn't they have you at least notarized or something that says that's legal? Yes.
Yeah, we confirmed, and they were going to bring it authorized.
Just a question, so we're talking about a temporary structure on the commercial side,
On
right?
the commercial side.
And so how long is the duration of that permit if it's a temporary structure? Or I mean, it's a temporary permit, right?
It's gonna be a temporary, and
How long is,
the zoning case usually takes between 3 and 4 months.
okay, so then we're talking about possibly having that temporary structure there for about 4 months, let's say.
Yes, and in case that they decide to have it in a permanent way, we will be, making the proper permission to you.
Well, actually, it should be a little bit more than 4 months, because what if they go through the process and they need to, start fixing their home, their colors and all of that. I mean, it's a little bit more. I mean, are we gonna have it said this permit is only good for this amount of time?
It's not established, but usually I would say that it will be good for 6 months.
6 months at the most?
Yes, sir.
And then reapply?
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion, Mrs. Rodriguez? Anybody else?
Motion made by Gloria Rodriguez, seconded by Rene Rodriguez, to approve item number 22. Victor Perez?
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Joseph Pauling?
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, item 23, discussion and action on certificate of appropriateness on the perimeter solid wall for the Socorro Mission Cemetery area on track 39, block 16, Socorro Grant, 328 Nevada's Road. The Historical Landmark Commission recommends approval. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion, Mrs. Rodriguez?
No.
Anybody else?
Question?
All right, a motion, a second.
Motion made by Rene Rodriguez, seconded by, Gloria Rodriguez, seconded by Rene Rodriguez to approve item number 23. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Thank you.
Item 24, discussion and action on certificate of appropriateness for interior remodeling project of the Rio Vista Complex located at 860 North Rio Vista. The Historical Landmark Commission recommends approval. Do you have a motion? We have a
Second.
motion. All right, motion is second. Any discussion, Mr. Rodriguez? Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes, I would like to know a little bit more about that.
Yes, the intention is to apply a historical color, which is similar to applesauce, which is the one at the corner.
Lieutenant, again.
Yes, sir. Which is a historical color, and base molding, chair rail, and a new, well, we're gonna be putting the crown molding in color white.
Hold on, she wanted to know, but she's not paying attention.
I can
Yes,
pay
Cox.
attention, I can do a lot of things
Well,
at the
he's
same time.
explaining to you what you asked.
I know, I can hear him.
Have you talked about the table, Mr. Cox?
I wanted her to
Mr.
hear.
Cox,
it.
you
He
can
doesn't
ask for it.
hear.
I can hear what you say.
This concept will be applied for the entire complex, okay? The 5 wings we have. It was presented before the Historical Landmark Commission, and they approved this project.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Did you guys wanted the blue? Because we were.
No,
thinking
like
that
we were
blue-
saying last time, and Montoya did the whole modeling thing, and everybody agreed to it.
You don't want to change it to blue?
Color for it.
Because I you guys had mentioned that you wanted.
No, but that was the, we were talking about, if I remember correctly, we were talking about here and having the two-tone, but it wasn't the exterior.
No.
Oh,
Okay, any questions?
that was my
One,
question.
just one minute. What are the two colors, sir? The one that you pointed out over there and the other one, sir?
The rest is gonna be white. The molding, the crown molding, the chair molding, the base, and the wood paneling between the base and the chair molding. That's all white. Both of them are historic.
All right, any further questions or comments on this? All right, the motion is second.
Motion made by Rene Rodriguez, seconded by Gloria Rodriguez to approve item number 24. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Yes, with the condition that maybe later on we can change it to another. Yes.
Item number 25, discussion and action on paying Ralph Hudan for materials taken by the city of Socorro.
I wanna,
Mr. Ruffey? Or Jim?
You're on 25, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
We can do it whenever you want, but I would ask to address council in executive session.
yes.
All right, well, let's go ahead and,
So moved. Motion to.
so we're good even though we didn't post it on executive, Jim? All right, so motion to go into executive.
Second.
Motion made by Sergio Cox, seconded by Victor Perez to move item number 25 into executive session. Victor Perez,
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Joseph Pauling,
Aye.
Sergio Cox,
Yes, ma'am.
and Gloria Rodriguez.
Yes.
Do you want to go into executive now?
Let's wait.
All right, let's just finish it out and we'll come back.
Yes.
All right, item 26, discussion action to approve interlocal agreement between the city of Socorro and City of El Paso's Department of Public Health and Department of Environmental Services. Mr. Norford.
Basically, from there, excuse me. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Basically, the interlocal agreement
has a few changes from the approval before, and I think it's more of indicating that we had a draft and some of the language has changed. The indication of the parts in yellow are the parts that have changed. So it's not affecting the service or the amount, it's just some of the technicalities in. As understood, I thought the city attorney had some comments to make in regard to that. Okay, and I'll stop.
So do you have anything else before he goes on, Mr.
No.
Miller? Okay. Nice haircut, by the way.
It's a good look for some people. You've got, there's some changes that are already in the document you have. There's some additional changes that I'm in discussing with the city attorney's office, El Paso City Attorney's Office. I don't think they're particularly substantive. It might be useful, well, however, if you've already approved this item, it might be useful, however, to table this and do all the
I'll
changes.
make a motion to table.
Second.
I second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion, Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Rodriguez, yes?
One thing, I would like to have like a monthly report of statistics, like for example, what we discussed before, remember, Mr. Rodriguez? For them to give us the statistics as far as whatever they're doing for the city of Socorro. Because usually I don't see anything.
That was a concern that was brought up, that we don't know what's going on, I mean, in the city, if they provide some kind of service, like some kind of screening or whatever it may be, we don't even know, and so we'd like to.
I'll invite them to our monthly report for the departments.
You know, and if they want to do something at night, like fumigate or whatever, I would like to be there if possible.
Yeah, I would also like to point out that the communications that you received from the health department talking about mosquitoes, those are material that they are sending, and that is what I'm passing forward. But I do understand you want to know about the other areas, and we'll get some other staff.
Now, Jim, I have a question on this really quick, since, I mean, we've already approved this agreement. Is the wording correct, because we basically approved it and we're approving it again? Because we
I
have,
mean, the wording, because you changed the wording.
but that's what I'm saying, so is it posted, but, yeah, we could,
It's, but the budgeting's adequate. I mean, I think you, that
Make sure.
gives fair notice of, look, we're either gonna approve a new one or we're gonna approve amendments to it. But it's not a post, I'm not concerned about the posting, I think it's sufficient.
all right, so a motion second.
Motion made by
Table the item for, what do you think?
for the March 20th meeting.
Jim, what do you think?
The city will pass moves more slowly than that, I would say, than one after that.
April 3rd.
Motion made by Rene Rodriguez, seconded by Gloria Rodriguez, to table item number 26 for the April 3rd meeting. Victor Perez.
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez.
Aye, but you second the motion.
I second the first. That's why she did it. Because I-
Okay.
Joseph Pauling.
Mr. Wolf.
Sergio Cox. And Gloria Rodriguez.
Okay, item 27, discussion action on Texas Department of Transportation request for payment for right-of-way acquisition on Horizon Boulevard. There you go.
Yes, basically, I do have some additional information from the county, which I passed out on your desk. It does require more research. It appears right now that there is some technicality in the language where it may be that we will get reimbursed for any additional amount, but it requires a little time to research it and go from there.
So table.
Yes.
We'll make a motion to table.
Second, Mr. Bowman, you
For
want to
what
take
date
second?
people comfortable
For,
with?
for the third?
Yeah, I can have it there.
You want to second it, Mr. Bowman?
Give me a second, hold on. Give me a second. So, Mr. Norton, we spoke to them yesterday, was there any indication of when they needed the money by, are they willing to actually say, yeah, take your time, go ahead and research it? Because I know that they're requesting the money, is there a timeline for it?
They have not stipulated actually getting money from us. It's really a notification. And according to the agreement that was signed, I believe in 2003, it talks about getting a reimbursement after the total project is completed. So after that, an analysis should be made to see if we pay more than this 26.6%, which is literally 15% of the material that I have. So it seems to me that that's all that we're subject to. And if we are subject to more, then we can petition the state to pay the difference. But they won't pay that until the project is done.
Okay.
All right, so the third?
The third would be?
Yes, because it's just a matter of analyzing the contracts that were signed.
Alright, so
Table to the third. Make a motion to table to the third.
Motion made by Rene Rodriguez, seconded by Gloria Rodriguez, to table item number 27 for the April 3rd meeting. Victor Perez?
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Joseph Pauling?
Aye.
Sergio Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Gloria Rodriguez.
Alright, item 28, discussion action to authorize El Paso Collaborative to use the Rio Vista Community Center once a week, half a day, to meet with small business owners for marketing small business loans. Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes, I was informed that the El Paso Collaborative didn't get the funding at the end, so I would like to make a motion to delete the item.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion, Mrs. Rodriguez?
No.
Anybody else want to say?
Motion made by Gloria Rodriguez, seconded by Victor Perez, to delete item number 28. Victor Perez?
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Joseph Pauling?
Aye.
Sergio Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Gloria Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Item deleted.
Going to executive.
Second.
Motion is second.
Motion made by Gloria Rodriguez, seconded by Rene Rodriguez, to move into executive session. Victor Perez?
Aye.
Rene Rodriguez?
Aye.
Joseph Pauling?
Aye.
Sergio Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
And Gloria Rodriguez.
It is 6:03, we're going to executive session.